Greetings and hello. I am Voxanonus, and I will be your host for the evening. Many people have asked me to help them set up their Streamlabs so that they can begin streaming or doing YouTube. So today, I will make a YouTube video on how to do just that. This will not be anything fancy, but it will allow you to learn the basics enough to get you started in your streaming or YouTube endeavors. Before I begin the video, I must indulge myself in all the stereotypical YouTube tropes. So, if you enjoy this video, please consider giving it a like. And if you would like to see more content, subscribe and turn notifications on. I will also leave my Twitch in the description where I stream 4 hours a day, Monday through Friday, as well as my social media links. Please consider giving them a follow as well. Now that we have those unpleasantries out of the way, let's get into the video. You should, when you download Streamlabs and open it for the first time, have something similar to this. You will not have anything in the scenes, sources, or mixer menu. You should have a black screen such as this, and your mini feed, as well as your chat feed, should be empty. Before we get too far into these, we should first go over a few general settings for Streamlabs. If you go to the bottom left to the cogwheel where it says Settings and click it, a pop-up should occur. This is where you are going to make your life a lot easier, where you will change certain things to remove stutter and lag, as well as just simply make life slightly more easy for you in your streaming and YouTube endeavors. So if you go to General Settings and scroll all the way down to Source Alignment Snapping, if you have this enabled, anything that you move in your scene will snap easily so that you don't have to worry about overhang or cutting things off when you put them in the corner. We'll go over the more practical use for this later in the video once we start actually adding sources. If you go to Stream, you can link your accounts via Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, or adding a custom destination. Doing this will allow you to stream a lot faster and easier. If you go to Output, you can start changing these things to suit your needs. If you take a moment and pause the video, you can simply copy the settings that I have, and you should do okay enough. If you go to Audio, you should not have to change too much with this. I always go with a 44.1 kilohertz sample rate. I record in stereo, and I change my mic to my default, which is no longer the Yeti, but rather the Elgato Wave 3. If you go to Video, you can customize your resolution to fit your streaming needs. You'll typically want this to be your native resolution based on your monitor. However, I've downscaled mine to 1080. That way, people with lower-end devices can still watch my stream with little to no problem. If you click this, you could also change it to 720 or your native resolution. I always go with bicubic, sharpen scale 16 sample, common FPS values, and I always max my common FPS values at 30. This basically allows it so that you can have your widest audience. Hotkeys are something we'll go over a little later, but there's something that's going to make your streaming and YouTube endeavors a lot easier to maintain and handle, and simply look more professional. You're not going to want to change too much in advance, but if you want to, you can pause the video and change anything in here to my settings. The only thing that you might want to customize for yourself is the stream delay. The stream delay will allow you to have a set delay in your stream. That way, you can cut off points if things happen that you don't want your viewers to see. I personally don't use this, as I don't feel as though it's necessary for me. Scene collections are typically for creators, where you can export or import overlays as well as importing widget files. It's self-explanatory and actually explains what this is for here, so I won't go over it. Notifications are nice, but not necessary. You can turn them off, enable sound, or disable sound, or you could just simply ignore this. It's not that important to you. Your appearance is simply your own personal taste. Your theme is going to be something that you're going to personalize for yourself, your own taste. You're going to start with night, and it's cool, and it's calm. However, I simply prefer Obsidian Prime. It just looks a lot more sleek and easy to use for me. The rest of the stuff is not that important. However, you can go through it yourself and figure out what best suits you. Remote control is something where you can edit your OBS or Streamlabs OBS from your phone by scanning the QR code. A virtual webcam is something that allows you to use your phone as a webcam or other devices. Game overlay will allow you to see things like your chat box, as well as events that pop up in your actual game itself. We'll go over the importance of this in a little while, and the dangers of using it, if you do use it. Installed apps are going to allow you to disable or enable certain apps that you have installed through Streamlabs. I highly suggest you get Pretzel Rocks, as this will allow you to use royalty-free music that you do not have to worry about getting DMCA'd. Now, let's get into setting up your actual stream, or scenes. You're going to start with a scene. Press the plus button, and name it whatever you would like. Typically, I have Stream Main, my intermission screen, Story Time, where I read stories, and Story Time, where the viewers can see the stories and myself. For now, we're going to use the blank tutorial scene that I have set up here, as it's blank, and there's nothing added to it. Think of each scene as a new project. Each project is going to look different and is going to suit the needs that you have for that specific thing. Moving on to sources. This is where most people get hung up because there's a ton of options and it can be overwhelming. Typically, I like to start with the most tedious and annoying thing, the audio input capture and the audio output capture. We'll begin right now with the audio input capture. So we're going to click that and add source. I'm going to add a new source for the purpose of this video and name it Tut Mic. However, you can name it anything that you wish. Make sure that you name it something that you're going to remember and something that's easy to find. Add the source when you're ready, and then where it says device, click on your specific microphone, mine being the Elgato Wave 3. You can use device timestamps if you wish, but it is not necessary. Once you have gotten all of your options the way that you want them, click Done. As you can see now, there is something in the mixer that shows my microphone and shows when I speak it's peaking. Right now, it's constantly peaking in the green, and it's maxing out all the way in the red. This is going to be really bad and sound terrible on streams and recording. The easiest way to fix this is to turn the volume down, and as you can see now we're peaking max in the yellow with a speaking voice. The reason the peaking is important is because if it's in the red, it's going to blow people's eardrums, as well as sound distorted and gargled. If it's too low, people won't be able to hear you and it will sound like you're whispering. Make sure that you're right around here in the middle in the yellow, or a little bit close to the red, but not quite. It is important to know your max volume though, so adjust it based on your own tones and pitches. Even when I'm not talking, the mic is picking up noise. This is called background noise or white noise. You want to get rid of this as best as you can. To do this, we're going to look at 3 filters that you can add to your source. Your source is what you've added, your microphone, right here. You're going to highlight it, and then right-click on it, and go to Filters. There are 3 specific filters that we're going to look at today. To add one, click the Addition button. Over here where it says Filter Type, click the drop-down, and go to Noise Suppression. You can name it whatever you want, however, I highly suggest keeping it the name of the filter. There are 2 different methods. There's the Speaks method, which is a lower CPU usage, or there is the RN Noise, the higher quality method. For lower end PC users, or laptop users, this Speaks might be your best bet. You can adjust the suppression level higher or lower based on how much background noise that you have. Always make sure that you're watching your mixer though. If you have it too high or too low, it's either going to do nothing at all or too much. I prefer RN Noise, as it adjusts it automatically and you don't have to worry about it. As you can see, it does a lot better of a job too. The next filter that we will look at is the noise gate. The noise gate is what's going to tell your microphone when to cut in and when to cut out. When you speak, it should cut in. When you're done speaking, it should disable itself, and it'll eliminate a lot of background noise or accidental noise, such as somebody entering a room or opening a door. The close threshold for me is best kept at 0, and the open threshold is best kept at around 28 to 30, and this typically works best for me. With somebody with a higher pitch, you might have to adjust these numbers to suit your own needs better. Once you've finished that, click the Addition button, and now we're going to add gain. Gain is something that's going to add a little bit more flair to your voice. It's going to make it sound more full and more alive. Too much gain will make it distorted, and too little gain will make you sound flat. So I typically like to take mine and put it at 3.8. Keeping it between 2 to 4 is what I found to be best. Once you've got these 3 filters, you can press Done, and then take a look at your mixer to make sure that it is following all the criteria that we went over earlier. And as you see, when I finish speaking, the levels go all the way down and stay down. This has eliminated any background noise that I might have had, and will make my stream sound a lot more professional than it would otherwise. Sometimes you might encounter some echo. If this happens, you're typically picking up 2 different audio input sources at the same time. If that happens, go to your mixer, go to Settings, and make sure that there is nothing hidden in the mixer. If there is, unclick it, close out of those settings, and remove the extra audio. This is picking up my audio twice, which is going to cause that echo effect. Once you remove it and press OK, it's going to be just this microphone now. That's going to remove it from all of your scenes, so make sure that you actually want it to do so before you do. The next thing that we're going to look at is how to include audio from external sources other than your mic. This is going to include game audio, Discord audio, such as other people talking, and more. Basically anything that you can hear, they're going to be able to hear. So click the plus button, go to Audio Output Capture, click Add Source. I'm going to add it as a new source. That way I can explain to you how this works and name it whatever is best for you. I'm going to do tut audio output, and now I'm going to hit add source. You are going to go to devices and pick whichever one is your output audio. This is going to be headphones or computer speakers, anything that outputs the volume to you. Mine is going to be Corsair Void Wireless Gaming because that is what I use. Once you've selected that, you click done. Any noise that might go through my headphones, my viewers will now be able to hear. You're going to want to make sure that your audio output is not louder than your mic. If it is, your viewers are going to have issues hearing you over your game. To fix this, simply lower the volume of your output. Make sure that you test it in your mixer and that it is not too low or too loud. Adjust the volume as you go. A lot of times, this will not get picked up. If that is the case, you're typically hiding the source. You might have hit something by accident, but if you go here to the eye and you check it, a dash will go through it. This symbolizes that while streaming or recording, this source is going to be ignored, and they will not be able to hear the audio that's coming through your headphones. If you unclick it, they should be able to hear it just fine again. The same goes for any source that you add, such as your microphone. After hitting that, they won't be able to hear you. Hitting it again will allow them to hear you again, and so on. Now that we're adding more and more things, it is important to know that there are ways to organize these sources so that you can find them easier. A great way to do that is to click on your mic, press and hold Control, and click on your audio output. You can then right-click these, go to Group, and group in a folder. You can name that folder Audio, Devices, or anything else that you would be able to find them easily, and click Done. Now it's going to show up as a single folder. When you click the drop-down, you'll see both of your audio devices, and you can switch between one or the other and edit them as you need to. This is just going to make it easier for you to find the specific things that you need later on. Now that we have the audio input and the audio output captured, it is important that they are able to see what we're playing, what we're recording, or our screen in general. The most common way of doing this is to go to Sources, click Add, go to Game Capture, and click Add Source. You can name it whatever you want to. Tut Game Capture is what I will name mine, and click Add Source. You might recognize this screen as a lot of Twitch streamers and YouTubers use this. You can have it automatically detect your game, or if you'd rather, you can take precautions and go to Capture Specific Window, capture any full screen application, and capture foreground window with a hotkey. Typically, you'll want to do Capture Specific Window if you're not doing it automatically. Once you go to Capture Specific Window, you would then go to your window and choose which one you would like to capture. The name of the game exe is typically the one that you're going to click on, and it will capture that specific game for you. The only time you would really want to do that is if Auto does not capture the game automatically. These different options are down to discretion. Whatever you would like is what you should click on. If you don't want it, don't use it, and if you don't know what it does, chances are you don't need it. Once you finish this, click Done. Sometimes the game capture will not capture your game, even through the capture window option. When this happens, you have a few options at your disposal. There are benefits and disadvantages of using game capture, and the other two display captures I will go over now. If you go to Add, go to Window Capture, and then go to Add Source. Name it whatever you would like, and hit Add Source. You will be able to capture a very specific window, and as you can see, it's going to capture just that one window. The benefit to this is if I were to not be able to use the game capture, I could capture my specific window, and it would only display that window to my audience. The disadvantage is, if there are any pop-ups, they usually will not pop up on the stream. If there are any accidents, it'll typically make your scene go black. So use this at your own risk. The capture method can be automatic, or it can be bit by bit, or it can be Windows graphic capture. Typically, you'll want to go with automatic if you don't know what you're doing. Now that that's done, as you can see, because the pop-up was closed, I'm now not capturing anything. And that is the issue with window capture. If anything goes wrong, your stream is going to be left in the dark, literally. So the next method, and my preferred method, is your display capture. If you click on display capture and go to Add Source, name it whatever you would like, go to Add Source again, and choose your monitor that you wish to capture. It's going to capture your entire monitor, so what they see is what you see. As you can see, mine is huge, and this is because my native resolution is higher than that of my canvas resolution. My canvas resolution being 1080, and my native resolution being 20. If you minimize that, drag it, and snap it into the corners, it should fit perfect, or close to it. As you can see, this is the practical use for the snapping. As you can see, it snaps easily to the side, and then when I go up, snaps easily to the top. This makes arranging things like this a lot easier. Now that we have a display capture, it's important to talk about the disadvantages of using this. The disadvantage of using this specific kind of a capture is that if you have anything embarrassing or personal, they'll be able to see that if you accidentally bring it up. So be careful using display capture. And please make sure that you're aware of what you have open before you start streaming or recording. Now, we can group all of these into a window or a folder. We can name these display captures, and it's going to add to our organization. Now, unfortunately, mine, because it's in use, just made mine crash. So we're going to have to restart our Streamlabs. This is going to happen every now and then, and you're just going to have to get used to it. Unfortunately, OBS and Streamlabs both are fairly unstable sometimes. You will run into technical difficulties, but the important thing is to not get frustrated and work through it. Okay, we are back. Now that we have our different types of capturing, it is important to talk about which one is going to be displayed during stream or recording. Sources work a lot like layers in Photoshop. Whatever's on top is going to be displayed above the rest. So, if your game capture is working, you're going to want it on top. If your game capture is not working, you're going to want your display on top. Another way that you can do this is by simply hitting the eye icon, and it will hide that specific layer. You can then unhide it should your game capture not capture your game as it's supposed to. Those are the easiest ways. There is an easier way later, but we will go over that when we go over hotkeys. The final thing that we will go over in sources is overlays. Overlays are something that allow you to customize your channel. It's something that people will see and will associate with you as a content creator. A lot of different overlays that you will see will be like a header, a chat box, a webcam, and events such as a new follower or new subscriber. To add these, press New in your source. If you have overlays already, go to Image, and then add your image. This one I will put as my main overlay. I will hit Add Source, and then go to Browse, and find where your main overlay is. Click it, open, and hit Done. Now, mine is obviously already fit for my channel with the dimensions. I simply have to move it over to center it as best I can, and let go. And it's ready to go. The next thing that you could add is your chat box. Chat box allows your watchers to view chat box, people chatting through your stream. It also simply makes things look more alive, more welcoming, more active. I usually put mine on the left-hand side, and I make it smaller so that it's not overwhelming. You can also customize your chat box by double-clicking it in your Sources menu. This will allow you to change things like the theme of the chat. I typically go with old school, but you can go with clean. Boxed. Twitch. Or chunky. I prefer old school. Now, all of these badges, moderator badge, subscriber badge, turbo, Twitch Prime, bits, and top coin holder badge, these are all things that allow your community to feel more personable with you. Moderator badge will allow people to see who are moderators of your chat and reach out to them should a problem occur. Subscribers, turbo, Twitch Prime, bits are all badges to make people feel better about donating to you or giving whatever they're giving to you. It's nice to let them feel apart from everybody else, but at the same time, some people also like to disable these, as everybody should be treated equally. The top coin holder badge typically is only used to create competition. Whoever can hold that gets the badge. Personally, I don't fancy that, but I'm also not in it for the money, so it's to each their own. You can also change the background color should you have a background color. You can also make the chat hide after a certain amount of seconds, or always keep the messages on. Personally, I like to always keep my messages on, as it makes the whole stream feel more lively. Font settings. These will allow you to change the color of the font and the size of the font to best fit your style. Chatter allows you to hide command bots. This is going to make it more humanistic and just eliminate some of the clutter. Source is something that you'll typically not want to edit unless you know what you're doing, and so we will skip over that for now. Once you're done with that, click Done, and we will move on to the next thing. Now, a webcam can be used. For a webcam, if you have an overlay, add the overlay first, as it'll make things easier when you go to frame them. This is my webcam overlay. I'm going to shrink it a bit, as I don't like my webcam to be quite that big, and then I'm going to snap it where it needs to be. After you have your webcam overlay where you want it, you're going to want to add a new source. Go to Video Capture Device and hit Add Source. I use a GoPro, so I will be adding the GoPro source. As you can see, it added it but it also took up the entire screen. You're going to want to shrink that down to fit in your overlay. Now, this is where the snapping becomes annoying because you have to line it up with your overlay. So the best bet would be to turn it off for now. However, I was able to get mine in without needing to. Now, as your overlay is supposed to be overlaid over your webcam, you're going to want to move your webcam under your webcam overlay. And as you can see, it fits perfect. After you get your webcam overlay, your main overlay, your chat box, you're going to want to add events or an alert box. So click alert box, add your source, and click add source. I don't like mine to be this big, so I shrink it and I'll move it to my desired location, which is typically the top right of my menu. Double click it in your sources to start editing things. Click on whichever one you would like to edit. I'm going to go with followers for right now, and go to whichever one your default is. The layout is where the text will display either under the animation, through the animation, or to the right of the animation. Under title message, you can edit what the following message says. So for mine, if Z Rayland followed me, it would say Z Rayland is now following. You can customize that and find other codes online. You can then change the font should you choose to. I typically like to go with Immortal or King Arthur, but for now, we're just going to go with Open Sans. You can change the font size and the font weight, as well as the color and secondary color. I don't typically worry about these too much, but it's whatever your own personal preference is. If you go to Media, you can change the animation that they use. As you can see, I have my own custom animation here, but if you don't have one, you can also go to Stock Files, Images, and use ones that are free online. Whatever you choose to do is up to you. If you go then to Animations, you can change the animation for the actual event, as well as the fade out animation for the actual event. The alert duration, how long the actual animation stays on screen. The text animation, should you choose to have one. And the text delay, how long the text takes before or after the animation occurs. Once you're happy with that, go through the rest of these and edit them as you will, and click Done. To test and see if you like everything that happened there, go to Test Widgets at the bottom right and click Follow. And as you can see, it plays the animation for you, for as long as you chose to have it and all of your other specifications. I don't like how low that is, so I would then raise it up a bit and play it again. Now it doesn't go over my overlay, but it's also not too far down, so that's perfect for me. After you're done with your alert box, we can move on to your main overlay. As you can see, they're typically going to have recent subscribers, recent followers, top donators, top subscribers, etc. I personally like to follow my recent subscribers to make new people feel more welcome and gratified. Go to Add, scroll down to Streamlabel, click Add Source. I'm going to make a new one and click Add Source. If you go here, whatever you decide on, you can start to type. So mine is going to be recent, and you can choose between recent donator, season recent donator, most recent cheerer, season recent cheerer, most recent follower, and so on. For this, since we have follower first, we're going to go to most recent follower. Until you've actually got a follower, this is going to be blank. So until you have your first stream where you've gathered a follower, you're not going to really be able to edit this or even add it. But because I have one already, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to edit these. The label template, you can add the name, as well as other codes that you can find online. Name is going to display whoever it was that followed. You can change the font, but for now we will stick with Arial. You can change the font style to make it italicized, bold and italicized, or leave it regular. For now, we'll leave it regular. The font size isn't going to matter too much, as we can always drag it and drop it. The next thing to look at is text transformation. You can make it all uppercase, lowercase, or start case. I choose none, as it's really not that important. The color of the text can be changed, and for the sake of my theme, we're going to go with red. Once you change the text, you can also change the opacity, though it's not too important to. You can add a gradient and a background color, though I don't suggest it, as well as a background opacity. You can align it left, center, or right. I typically go with center, but for now we're just going to stick with left. You can align it vertically. You can add an outline, which I will do. Change the color of the outline to black. And I typically go with anywhere from 4 to 8 for the background, or for the outline rather. This is going to make the text, when you add it to the box, more defined. And as you can see it better. These two things aren't going to be too important to you, so you can now just click done. To add subscriber, you go through the same process. Scroll down, go to stream label, add source, add new, label it whatever you want to. So for this it would be tut subscribe. Most recent subscriber. And then go through all of these and change them to however you want. I'm not going to do that now for the simple fact that it's the exact same steps as before. You would then move this and shrink it to fit your box. And as you can see, both of them are now there. When those change, these will change automatically. You won't have to worry about them. If you do have a piece of fan art or other art that you wish to add in order to hide a code in a game that would allow people to join your game, such as Among Us, you would go to Add Source, Images, Add Source, and then find wherever your fan art is and add it. As you can see, mine is extremely big right now, so we're going to lower that. And then put it wherever the code would be. This specific fan art was made by King, one of the wonderful artists that has made me several pieces now. If you ever wanted to hide the art because you're not playing the game that requires you to hide a code, simply click that eye icon and that layer will be hidden. The last thing that we will go over today is hotkeys. Go down to the bottom left where that cogwheel is and click Settings. Once you're in Settings, go to Hotkeys. And you can set hotkeys for different things, different scenes, and different sources. For Start Stream, make it a key that you don't normally use. For me, F1 works fine. If I were to have Streamlabs open and press F1, it will automatically start my stream. To stop my stream, I would press F2, and it would end my stream. The same goes for starting recording and stopping recording. Setting these to a key that you don't normally use is ideal. That way, you don't stop or start stream by accident. Setting a hotkey for these is very, very dangerous in some instances, as you don't want to be one of those streamers that accidentally start stream while you're doing something extremely embarrassing. Wouldn't want any slips. The rest of these you can go through, and if they interest you, add a hotkey to them, because chances are you might want to use them while you're streaming or recording, such as saving replays, toggle in-game overlay which allows you to see chat, as well as events while in-game. If you are using display capture, don't use the game overlay. The reason for this is that we've already added a chat box and an alert box into our stream, so if you do this, they'll be seeing everything twice. I highly suggest making a hotkey for skipping alerts, just in case later down the road when you get donators or subscribers, there's nothing inappropriate that might pop up. You can add different hotkeys to different scenes as well. To show my fan art, I have control number pad 1, that way I don't have to close the game, hide or unhide the fan art, open the game all on stream. I can simply hit those 2 buttons, and my fan art will appear. If you scroll down to the very bottom of a scene, you have the option to switch to that specific scene. That's extremely useful for going on intermission. If you were streaming, and you had to go for a while, you could hit Alt-Control number pad 3, and it would go to intermission. When you're ready to go back to streaming, so that you don't have to close your game at all, you would then just press Alt-Control number pad 6, and it would go back to your main scene. This is nice, because it eliminates a lot of back and forth work for you, and makes your whole stream look 8 times more professional. There are also different sources that you can add number pad keys to, or hotkeys to, however you want to do it. But always make sure that these are keys that you don't normally use, or a combination of keys that you don't normally use together. That way you don't accidentally switch scenes or accidentally disable or enable anything. You can go through all of these hotkeys and customize them for your own personal use. For now, that is all I'm going over today. I hope this helped, and I hope that your streams and recordings go well. Until next time.